Like, I just think back to all the times that people have seen photos of the Series X and are like, man, that thing is huge, and it's got nothing on PS5. 2020? No, we're all about just big. This is gonna be a weird video, guys.
As some of you guys know, I got these dummy units from Xbox to really get an idea for how the Series X and Series S look in person, and I really wanted to see how they compare to the PS5. Now, obviously, I do not have a PS5 official mock-up whatever, but what we found that was a really cool next best thing is a AR model of the PS5. Now, I've seen a couple people do different AR comparisons, but this is actually a cool opportunity where we have at least the Xboxes in physical, so that gives us a much better idea of overall real scale because, you know, 2 out of the 3 systems are going to be real. And I just really wanted to get a better sense of what that system is going to look like in person because by all accounts of the photos, it's big.
Now with this AR, we do need to kind of double check every now and then the size of it, which we're going to have Travis run over here with measuring real quick.
Now, one of the things to keep in mind with the AR model is that it is something that is scalable. It's not just going to automatically be the perfect, correct size of the PS5.
And that looks about right. We're probably a little, we're gonna be a little big. Let me see if I can, nope, too much. That's better. Also, Stevie cameo.
So we looked up and have the measurements on hand for the PS5 that Sony has officially posted, and every now and then while we were doing these comparisons, we would just break out the tape measure and do a quick little check to make sure that everything is still staying in that right range. There are definitely some times where it's gonna be a little bigger, or a little smaller, but in general, we are very close to what that proper measurement and scale is. So just take that with a little grain of salt.
It's not as thick as the Series X sideways, like it's definitely a little thinner that way, so it's not gonna be as tall when you're laying it down. But yeah, tower mode is a lot higher, that'll make it longer when you have it sideways, and it's also considerably deeper. Like there's a good top shot to really show it, and that's not even with the Series X really lined up with the front. Like when I go to the side, it just eclipses the system. Like you can't, it's just gone.
Something that shooting this video really reinforced in me is this thought process that with 2020 and next-gen gaming, there's a very large emphasis on we don't really care about compact size right now, it's all about power.
Especially when you look at something like the PS4 Slim or even the Xbox Series or Xbox One X, I'm already making that mistake. When you look at those systems, you know, they're still bigger than old systems, but we still try to keep them a little trim.
Not that recent systems haven't had their large versions. The original Xbox One, for instance, is a pretty big system, but when you look at the Xbox 360 and its iterations, the Xbox One S and One X, any of the PlayStations, even including the PS4 Pro, which was pretty large by other PlayStation standards, these next systems are blowing those out of the water. The Xbox Series X in particular, while still overall I think pretty trim relative to the competition, and they've changed what they emphasize with the dimensions, right? Because they're really moving more towards this PC tower design where it's got the kind of square outline at the top and is focused much more on that tower build. Well, the PS5 is more traditional in its dimensions as far as, you know, how it compares in length, height, and width, but it's overall just a way bigger system.
Now look, I realize this is a slightly unfair comparison given the age of the system, but it's crazy to think that this was like the standard size of a new system, and now we're here. Like, I feel like the last few generations, even though we did get bigger kind of after this, oh, it's starting to move. I think the lighting got messed up.
And even extending this to PC gaming with the new 3080 and 3090 cards, everything is big right now.
We have a 3080 here we borrowed, and that is, everything is big now, minus the Series S and whatever Nintendo might do next year. A close shot on that real quick. The USB and USB-C, disc slot. This is so cool being able to compare these in tower mode, but now this just makes me even more curious for how it's going to look sideways. Especially the disc one, because at least in the mock-up photos or all the advertisements that PlayStation has used, it looks like the disc base is actually going to pull off sideways just a little better because it'll help hide that disc slot, whereas the old digital definitely favors staying in this tower configuration. We lost the PS5. Where did it go? Do I need to like reload it?
Where did we go?
Just gone, man.
What are we at right now?
80, I think. 82 seems about correct.
A large reason for this is because of cooling solutions. A lot of these systems are pushing things as far as power goes, and while we have better cards and everything now, the kind of graphics we're trying to push, including the possibility of 8K for some specific games, is definitely something that's going to produce a lot of heat, and so these systems are designed around making sure that they can have that kind of power while keeping things running cool, where Xbox Series X has this whole redesigned specialized cooling design, and while we haven't seen the inside cooling for the PS5, based on the positioning of all the vents and everything and just the overall size of the system, that's definitely an emphasis for them as well.
I'm hoping it's not a jet engine again. I would love to have a PlayStation system that is quiet. Like, I feel like my PS4 Pro was quiet the first week I had it, and then that stopped. So we're not sure where our original fat PS3 is right now, so the Super Slim is in there instead, which makes it a little deceptive how much smaller that middle generation was. But the point is, that PS5 is still huge. Now, of course, this is just like an AR mock-up. It is for the disc-based version. As you can see, we've got the little disc tray right here, well, slot for where it goes. It actually looks pretty good from a distance, but yeah, when you get close like this, you can definitely tell this isn't real. I also love the fact that, you know, because we haven't actually officially seen the back of the system yet, it's just infinite darkness. Oh, flipping rotation makes mad. Oh, nope, can't go that way. Let's go ahead and swap these out for the actual Xbox comparison. All right, now Stevie, pick up that last one and move it.
One of the biggest takeaways from this for me is just really seeing the scale of the PS5 relative to other competition. I'm not necessarily talking about this in terms of like, oh, this one's better because it's smaller. I'm not trying to push any kind of thing like that. Really, what I'm just curious in is how much larger it is and how incorporating it into a current modern setup might end up being a little more difficult for some people. The main metric that really worries me is the overall height of the system when it's in tower mode, or the length of it when it's laying down sideways, because it is a noticeably longer system than really anything else out there right now. Depending on what kind of TV setup you had before that may have had a little cubby that would fit a System 4, might not fit that 15-inch wide system. That is a noticeably longer design than most, and it's also pretty deep as well. Now, thankfully, because it is maintaining kind of traditional console aspect ratios at least, it's still going to be a relatively thin system. I mean, especially looking at how thick the Series X looks sideways, that's not going to be an issue. But again, the height of it in tower or the length of it when you have it sideways is just something you're gonna need to be prepared for, and maybe even start thinking about right now, because where your PS4 Pro is fitting right now might not fit a PS5, and even if it does, it may not be suitable enough room to make sure that it's getting the cooling it needs. I also really hope that, considering the size of the system, it's going to be quieter than the PS4 Pro, because I don't know how much longer I can handle having a jet engine in my living room. Okay, so we're missing the N64 because I left that at home. I think this is especially funny to just look at Nintendo's lineup, because those have always stayed smaller. I know, the Wii's broken with the top flap. I feel bad about it every time. 2006, Kevin, was not as good to his systems. But we have this whole lineup, and then this boy. That is just so big. I mean, obviously, with comparison to the Game Boy, the PS5 is not a good handheld. Yeah, just having it next to like household objects even more so just shows you the size of this thing. Thank you, Travis. Thank you, random household objects. You know, again, because this is an AR mock-up, it's not, of course, a perfect example of what the final system is going to be. It looks like a very good one, but as always, things tend to have a slightly different feel in person, whether that's the texturing of the plastic itself, the way that you actually see the light hit the thing in a physical space. I'm very curious to see the PS5 in person. I think it's a crazy looking design that I actually am slowly warming up a little more to, at least for the old digital one. The physical one, where the slot is, it's a little weird, but we'll see how that changes once I'm able to put it on its side. I think it's gonna hide it a little better. But as it stands, the PS5 is definitely a system that is making a statement.